My name is Dave Morrow. 9 months of each year, I live out of my vehicle. I travel the wilderness by foot on an endless backpacking and landscape photography trip. I want to teach and share the photography and outdoor skills that I use on these trips. I don't want to spend hours editing video or sitting in front of a computer, so I made some rules. First, everything's shot on GoPro. This was the best way I found to record quickly on a consistent basis. Second, I can only spend 20 minutes editing each video. So thanks for watching, and welcome to the Landscape Photography Journals. All right, on the trail, it is day one. Put in about 8 miles so far. I'm gonna do about 17 miles up this trail today. I'll put down camp for the night, raft the whole way down, 25 to 30 miles tomorrow if all goes well, and then hike back up 15 more miles to my vehicle. Be like a out and down real far and then back up. But so far today it's clear, and then patches of clouds with slight downpours, thunder, and then really nice clear skies again. But it's been doing this every day, so hopefully it'll hold out for 3 more days while I complete this trip. So I finally got to camp, wiped out today. I found about probably 30 or 40 ticks on me throughout the day. I had to pick them off. So I just got done quarantining my tent to make sure there's nothing in it. Pack raft there. River, which I'll be rafting down, is right here. I just got done setting up a composition over here and taking a few practice shots, but I'll show you guys what I've been shooting. Got my tripod posted off this huge tree right here and then balanced on that log because I wanted to get up higher. When I was down low, I was right in all these bushes and it wasn't giving me much separation with the river. So here's the approximate composition I'll be shooting right here in the back of my screen. So it will encompass these really bright green leaves, the bottom right here, and then the leading line of this water going back to the trees in the background. I like how these leaves on the left-hand side here kind of frame and balance the water movement on the right-hand side. They also kind of bound the bottom of the photo slightly. So it helps the eyes to move around that bottom side through the rapid movement here and then out the side of the frame. So for this one, I'm just gonna grab a focal point, which will first focus just for these leaves in the immediate foreground. I'll get those sharp and then I'll take another exposure just for all the water movement and the trees in the background there. I'm gonna first grab this single point spot focus right in the bottom center, right on that leaf. Zoom in at 100 and use back button focus. Looks good. I'm gonna shoot at f11 here. Base ISO or 100, and then I'll pull up my RGB histogram. I'm going to push this histogram all the way to the right using exposure compensation. Now you can see that even when I push it slightly to the right, I have a 1 second shutter speed there. I'd like it to be a little bit faster to ensure I don't see any movement in those leaves. So I'm gonna stop right there and ensure that I don't push the histogram any further to the right. I'm gonna back off my f-stop to f8. That will give me a slightly faster shutter speed, as you can see right here. And then I'll go ISO from 100 or base up 2 stops to 400. Now I have an 1/8 of a second. I shouldn't see much movement there with an 1/8 of a second. They're barely moving at all. Check the focus down there first. Looks sharp. Then I'll check the histograms. Everything's pushed to the right, but they're not falling off, so all good there as well. So the second shot, all I need to do here is move my focal point from right there back to the water, or about a halfway into the scene, right in there. Zoom in at 100%, back button autofocus. Looks good. Now I'm gonna drop this from 400 down to 100. That will give me a little bit longer of a shutter speed, showing me more detail on that water movement. Now I'm gonna go from F8 to F11, ensuring that I get a little bit longer shutter speed there once again. You can see that aperture priority mode automatically holds the image brightness of the shot, so that's what I want. So I'll go ahead and fire a shot off there. So I have another video that covers this technique in a little bit more detail, but the following steps, I'm gonna take 4 or 5 different exposures, all of the same exact focal point and the same composition. I'll just vary the shutter speed so I can have different view in the final result of how the water looks, meaning it could be very choppy or detailed versus very blurry or smooth for longer shutter speeds. I'll link that other video which details that with more info below. So the first thing I'll do here is just check that I'm sharp at the focal point all the way to the background. So that looks good. After doing that, I'll pull up my histogram. All the histograms look good as well. So now what I can do is I'll go down to F8. You can see that gives me a little bit of a faster shutter speed, snappier shutter speed, which will freeze some of that water detail down there. Unlike that 1 second shutter speed where the water was really like flowing through. So I'll take one there at a half a second. That half a second looks nice. I can see the waves actually kicking up right there, or the turbulence right there where it goes through and right there kicks up really high and gives like all these little splattering of detail when I use that 1/2 second. I'm gonna move ISO up to 250 now. That'll give me a 1/5 of a second. Now, one reason I really prefer shooting aperture priority mode over manual mode is that you can see while I'm doing all these different settings, it holds a constant image brightness no matter what my settings are. So by setting that exposure compensation value, the aperture priority mode stays a constant image brightness, and then when you change settings such as ISO increase, shutter speed automatically gets faster, or any other of the settings in the exposure triangle that you want to balance off one another. So it's key to be able to understand the exposure triangle and how all this stuff kind of matches together, and what you can compensate with to get one setting versus another setting. And I'll link my exposure triangle written guide for you guys. You can check it out and read up on that if you don't have it yet. It's a free PDF download as well. So it walks through my step-by-step for all this stuff. See, a 1/5 has even more detail there. Those all look good. So I'm happy with the histogram and the focal points for all those. So I can just combine all those together with that initial image for the foreground focus right here. So at this point, I'm gonna walk around and take a few different compositions and see what I can find. And then I'll probably start a fire over by the tent and hang out and constantly worry about ticks all night. Actually, I don't really mind ticks. After the first day, when I'm just covered with them and I just pick them all off, after that I'm like, all right, there's just gonna be ticks everywhere the whole time, and then you just get used to it.
Being attacked, there's ticks now climbing my tent. They want my blood.
So I lucked out. The sun just came out as I was setting up my raft. Got everything ready to go. Hop on right here and head on down. I'll try to take some footage from a head cam on the way down and see how it works out.